Hi. So in our previous session, we have started, or I can say we have completed the contract class. So we have discussed what's a contract class. So contract class is used to represent an instrument. So whatever stock you are dealing with, you have to make a contract of that stock before doing anything else. This is what we have discussed. And we have seen how we can make a contract of a stock, option, future. So whatever instrument you're dealing with, you can make a contract of that. Then we have discussed about historical data, how you can get historical data. So we have used a function called as request historical data function. So whenever you will call this function will give you candle historical data, okay, OHLC data. Now, let me point out one thing in this, that is this end date time argument. So in this end date time argument, we can send empty string. And whenever you send an empty string, it will give you the latest candle data too. Like, let me give you an example. Let's say that I run this code at 9:30. So if I run this code at 9:30, I will be getting the latest candle till 9:29. So till 9:29, all the 1 minute candle. Let's say I'm trying to get 1 minute candle. Okay, so 9:29 candle also I will be getting. Now let's say now it is 9:30 and 1 second. Okay, it's almost 31. So once the entire minute is completed, once we move to the next minute, then if I call this function after the minute is over, so the previous minute data also I will be getting. Okay, this is the benefit of using this function if you write an empty string. Okay, this is one thing you should remember. That is, I will be getting the latest candle data. If I am writing 1 minute, the moment that candle is generated, if I call this function after that candle is generated, that candle I will be receiving if I call this function. Now, let's say you're designing an algo. Okay, now there are two things you can do in this case. One is whenever you need the data, you just call this function. Okay, this is one approach. The other approach is to make a WebSocket. Now, what's a WebSocket? Now, what is the problem in this first method? The problem is whenever I need the data, I need to call it. Okay, let's say after every 5 seconds, I want the data. So I have to call this after every 5 seconds. It's not like you cannot do it. You can do it. You can put it in a for loop. You just call it after every 5 seconds. You'll get the same result. Now, there is an alternative way of doing the same thing. So that way is called as a WebSocket way. Okay, so what we do, we make a connection between our Python file and the server. Okay, so this connection is called as WebSocket connection. Now, what's the benefit of WebSocket connection? In WebSocket connection, you don't have to make any calls. Okay, so there is one connection, a pipeline that is made between your file and the server will keep sending you data after X interval of time. Okay, now this interval in case of interactive broker is 5 seconds. For after every 5 seconds, it will send a new candle data. So the minimum candle size in interactive broker is 5 seconds. So after every 5 seconds, you will be receiving a 5 second candle data. Now remember, I'm saying candle data, it means I will be receiving OHLC data. Okay, so that is what we will be discussing today. That is how we can make a WebSocket connection between our file and the server. And after every 5 seconds, how we can get real-time bar data. Okay, this is what we will be discussing right now. So let's make a new file. So I'll write real.realbar.py. Now, whenever you are starting a new project, you can simply copy the code that you have written in your previous session. Okay, so let's just copy everything. I'll paste it here. I'll run the code and see if it is working or not. So my interactive broker is also live right now. Okay, you can see I've got the data. Now, what's the candle? What's the stock or the instrument that I'm dealing with? I'm dealing with Forex instrument. Okay, and you can see this is the latest candle that I've received, and what candle size I'm requesting for? I'm requesting for 1 minute candle size. So right now it is 8:53. Okay, so if I run the code after 1 minute, I should also get 8:54 also. After 1 minute, if I run this code, you'll see I'll also be getting 8:54 too. Okay, so let's wait for a few minutes. I'll run it again and I'll show you. Till then, let me explain you few other things. Okay, so till 1 minute passes by, I'll just show you the documentation. So once you visit their website, the IB official documentation, there is one link that is very important for us. That is this notebook link. If you click on this notebook, you'll see that they have provided us with some basic notebooks. Okay, so these notebook you can refer to whenever you're building strategy. Okay, so in this, right now we will be discussing this bar data Jupyter notebook. So I'll just click on it. So if I click on it, this is the Jupyter file that will open. Okay, now let's see, we have already discussed half of it. Like we have seen how we can make a connection, then how we can get the data. We can simply use the request historical data function. It will get us the data. Okay, and yeah, this is what we have discussed. Now if you scroll down, you'll see there is this heading of real-time bar. Okay, this is what we will be discussing today. So what I'll do, first I'll copy the code. So there is one function that they have made. So let's copy that function name. I think it 1 minute should be over by now. If I run the code again, see now not only 54, it is also giving me 55. So after every minute, I get the real-time data. Now let's come back to real-time bar data. So first you have to make a function. Okay. Now this function you can name it whatever you want. In this case, we have named it on bar update. So what will happen once we make the WebSocket connection? Whatever data we will be getting, that data will be stored in this bar variable. Okay, so if I print this bar variable, it will keep getting printed after every 5 seconds. So I'll show you in few minutes. This is first thing. Then we have to copy these 2 lines of code. So let me just copy this. I'll paste it here. So what we have done, we have called this request real-time bar function. Okay, so if you want a normal historical data, you call the function request historical data function. If you call request historical data function, it will give you historical data. But if you call request real-time bar function, okay, now this is a little different function. What this function will do, this function will create a WebSocket connection between you and your server. Okay, so we will call this function in this way, request real-time bar, and then we will be sending 4 arguments. Okay, first argument will be the contract, for which contract we want to subscribe. That is for which contract we want real-time data. Then 5 means after every 5 seconds we will be receiving the data, and the other 2 will remain the same. Okay, so you don't have to change the last 3, only this contract will change. Rest of the things will remain the same. Okay, and in the next line you have to write this code. Okay, you will write bars dot update event plus equal to on bar update. Now what is this on bar update? On bar update is the name of this function. I told you that this function you can name whatever you want. So in few minutes I'll change the function name and I'll show you. But for now let it remain the same. Now if I only copy this much and if I run the code, nothing will happen. So let me show you. If I run the code, nothing major difference will be there. Why nothing is happening? Because I have made the connection, but I have not started the connection. Okay, now if you want to start the connection, there are 2 ways. One is you make a infinite connection. So if you want to make an infinite connection, you just write ib.run. Okay, if I only write this much and if I run the code, a connection will be made and I will receive the data for forever. Okay, there is no stopping this connection. This is one way. So before showing you this way, I'll show you the second way. Second way is I'll just go to the documentation again and I'll copy these 2 lines of code. So what we do, we specify a set time, like we want this connection to be for 30 seconds, 1 minute, whatever it is, and we will write a sleep command. Okay, in this sleep command right now there is 30 seconds. So we will make a connection for 30 seconds. After 30 seconds, we will close this connection. Which connection? The connection between this Python file and the server. Okay, so let me repeat everything one more time. What things we have done. First, we have made a function. This function name, you can have whatever you want. This function should have 2 arguments. Okay, 2 arguments are also not mandatory. You can only have 1 argument. It should also work. Then right now that argument is bars. So this also you can name whatever you want. Okay, it's not compulsory that you have to name bar only. Okay, 2 arguments are there and whatever argument I'm getting, so let's just print it. Okay, instead of writing -1, I'll just print it for now. Okay, and then we are calling the request real-time bar function. In this we are sending 4 argument. The other 3 will remain the same. The only thing you have to keep in mind is the contract. So for whichever contract you want to make a connection, you have to specify that contract here. Then we will write bar dot update event. okay, plus equal to on bar update. Okay, so this line is going to start a connection between your computer and your not start, this is going to make a connection. Okay, if you wish to start the connection, you either you can write ib.run, which will create an infinite connection, or you can use the sleep command. Okay, after sleeping for 30 seconds, we will cancel this connection. So what will happen now if I run the code? First, a connection will be made instantly. Then I'll start receiving data after every 5 seconds. Okay, in the first second, I'll get one data. After 5 seconds, again, I will be receiving the data. So let's run the code and see. First, I'm getting the historical data. Now I've got the data. Now after 5 seconds, I'll get another data. See, again, I've got the data. Now this is so fast that it is not visible properly. So what I will do, I'll just convert it into a data frame. Okay, so how do you convert something into a data frame? If you remember, we use the util.df function. I'll write df is equal to util.df. We will send this bars in this and we will print this df. So let's just remove this bar for now, or let's just comment it and I'll run the code again. Now instead of showing the raw data, it is going to show the data in a data frame format. So see, after every 5 seconds, I'm receiving a new data. So here there was only one data. So let me just scroll up. Here there was one data, then two data, then three data, then four data. Okay, then finally five data. So you can see the difference also. There is a 5-second gap, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40. So after every 5 seconds, I'm receiving a new candle data and the size of that candle is 5 seconds. So this OHLC is for 5 seconds. Okay, so I hope this is clear. So this is how you make a connection between your computer and the server by using the WebSocket. Now, since we have written 30 seconds, so we only got 6 to 7 candle. Okay, now I'll show you the other way. That is, instead of using the sleep command, I'll directly write ib.run. So what this will do, this is going to make a connection forever and there is no way to stop this connection. There is only one way, that is to close the terminal. So once I run the code, so I'll just run the code and show you. It will start the connection. It will start sending me the data. Okay, but if I want to close it, I just have to click on this del button because I have not written the code to stop this connection. So you can see after 5 seconds, right now it is 35. Now I'll get 40 also. I've got 40. Then I'll get 45 also. So in this way, each time it will send a new data. It's going to also send me the older data too. Okay, like let me give you an example. Let's say that I've started this connection at 9:15. Okay, so at 9:15, I will be receiving one candle. Then the next candle I will be receiving at 9:15, 5 seconds. Okay, now in the next call at 9:10, 9:15 minute, 10 second, I will be receiving two candle. The first candle also, second candle also. Now at 9:15, 15 second, there will be three candle. So I won't be receiving only single candle from the server. I will be receiving all the three candle in the call. So as the time progresses, whatever candle we are receiving will keep getting accumulated. Okay, so this is something you should understand. So if you have not understood, I'll repeat it one more time. So whenever you start a connection, once that minimum time frame, that is 5 seconds, is completed, when we move to the next candle, so not only the current candle but also the previous candle is being sent via WebSocket. Okay, like let's say there is 60 seconds are done. So in 60 seconds, there will be total 12 candle will be formed. So I won't be receiving only the latest candle, but I will be receiving all the 12 candle in each request, in each response. Okay, so I hope this is also clear. So this is how you make a WebSocket connection. Now let's do few more changes. So I'll not use this ib.run for now. Let's use this 30 second. Now let me just change the name. Okay, instead of on bar, I can name whatever I want, like maybe, Fesser Pro 1. And here I'll write, I have to write the same function name. So if I run the code again, it should work in the similar fashion. Nothing will change. You can see it is working similarly. Now let's see if I only send one data, what will happen. So right now I'm sending bars, right? So I can change this also. So let's say instead of bar, I'll just write my name, Sunil. And here I have to specify Sunil. And that's it. Okay, so if I run the code, again, it should give me the same data. Now let's just remove the second argument and see if it works in a similar way or not. So it is not working in this case. So I need to send two argument. So this two argument you need to have in this function. This is something you should keep in mind. So I'll just close it. Now, instead of printing it this way, okay, let me just print the bar. Okay, I'm just printing the bar. That is, I'm just printing the raw data, not the entire data frame. But instead of printing the data frame, let's print the raw data, and I'll show you some interesting thing. Okay, so what I'll do, I'll just copy this data. So let me just copy this. Okay, so I've copied few data and I'll just paste it, and let's try to analyze the data. Okay, first of all, this is that list that I have received when this is the first data that I have received when I started the connection. Then after the first, this is the second data that I have received. So whenever I'm receiving the data, I'm getting it in a list format. Okay, and in the list I have this object real time bar. So real time bar is an object of a class real time bar. So till now we have seen two classes. Okay, one is contract class and one is a request historical data class. Okay, so I'll also show you what type of data we are getting when we call the request historical data function. Okay, so here you can see we are converting into a data frame. Along with, before converting into a data frame, let me just print the raw data too. Okay, to show you what's the class name of this bar type. Okay, so I'm printing the bars here and then I'm converting it into a data frame, and here I've already copied this data. Okay, so let's run the code. I'll just copy something. Okay, so I've copied the data. I'll just paste it here. Okay, so let me repeat it one more time. What are these two data? So this data I'm getting from a WebSocket. Okay, first time I received this. In the second response, I received this. Now, what is this data? This is the data that I have received when I call this function, that is request historical data function. So whenever I call request historical data, so I receive this type of data. And just look at the name of the object. So here it is real time bar. It's an object of the class real time bar. And here it's an object of bar data. So this object was formed from a class with the name bar data. Okay, this is the basic stuff that you should understand. Okay, so what we can note from this? We can note that whenever you use the request historical data, we get a different class, and that class name is bar data class. And whenever we call this request real time bar function, we get real time bar data. Okay, it's a very important information because in future when we will be using different function will be giving me different types of object. Okay, so this is something you should understand. If you're not understanding this, I'll request you to watch it again. Now let's see what things we have in this real time bar data. So if I go to the right side, first I have this time. Okay, after time I have time zone. This is the zone, time zone. Then I have open, high, low, close. Okay, then I have volume, then count. All these things are there. Now in the first response, I only have one data, but in the second response, I have two data. You can see comma, there is a two data within the list. In the third response, I will be getting three data. Okay, what will be the type of the data? Type will be real time bar type. Okay, so what this function, if you remember this util.df function is doing, this is taking this list and it is simply converting it into a data frame. That's what this util.df function is doing. Similarly, here also the same thing is happening. So we are getting a list of bar data. Okay, there are multiple in a single list, there are multiple bar data type of data, and this util.df function is converting that list into a data frame. Okay, all right. So let's see what things we have in bar data too. So first we have the date, whatever date it is, then open, high, low, close, volume, average. Okay, then the next bar data is there. Okay, so these are the basic data that we get when we call the real time bar function and the bar data function. I hope this is also clear. So let me just remove these two things, or I can just comment it out for now. So whenever you are using any function, just try to analyze what data you are getting. Okay, what's the function name? What are the different things that are there in that function? Okay, because see, since there are these many things, so when I convert it into a data frame, even at that time, these are the column names. So if I run the code again, I'll just comment the code first. Let me comment this. And here also I'll comment this because I don't want to print the raw data. I'll print the df data. Now I'll just show you if I run the code, whatever argument you are seeing here, like this date, then you can see open, high, low, close. What are these? These are nothing but the name of the column. You see, first there is time, then end time, open, high, low, close. These are the column names that we get. Okay, from where we are getting this column name? We are getting it from all the data that we have within that object. All right. So this was about how we can make a WebSocket and how we can get real-time bar data. So before moving to the next class, let's see a few more thing about this both the function that is request historical data function, not function the class, and the request real-time bar class. Now about the request historical data function, in this we were specifying the end date time as an empty string. Okay, what if I specify a particular date? Like maybe I'll specify 2011. So what it will do? If I specify 2011, so from that day to 100 days back. So if I write here 100 day, okay, so from that day till 100 day back, all the days data I will be getting. Okay, so for those of you who are wondering, how can we get lots of data? Like I want 10 years of forex data. So how will you do that? Now it's not a good idea to directly specify 10 years, 1 minute data. If you do in this way, then it is not going to work, because what this API will do, this API will try to fetch the entire data in one go, and that will be a huge data, right? There will be like millions of columns. Okay, so if you try to fetch this entire 10 years of data in one request call, in one call, then mostly it is not going to go through. Okay, you'll not get the data. So how do we solve this problem? Okay, so this itself is a problem, right? A lot of people search a lot about this, how we can get 10 years of data, 20 years of data, historical data. So I want you guys to give it a try. Okay, I'm not going to explain it right now. Later in the future part of our course, I'll explain you how we can solve this problem of getting, maybe 5 year, 10 years of data. So one hint I'll give you, if you just change this end date time. Okay, if you change this end date time, you can get historical data also. But the problem is you can only get a limited time period of data, like 100 day of data, maybe 200 data, 200 days of data you can fetch at a time. You cannot fetch the entire data in single go. That is not going to work properly. All right. So I want you guys to solve this problem. Okay, I will be discussing this a later part of our course. This is one thing about this. And as far as the request real-time bar data is concerned, let's try some other stock. Okay, so right now I was using the forex instrument, but what if I use some other instrument? Okay, like we can take, so right now other markets are open, but the problem is I don't have any valid data subscription for US stocks. So if I try getting real-time data for US stock, it might not work. Okay, for few stock it might work, but most of the stock will not work for this account. So if you want US real-time stock data, then you need to subscribe for their subscription. So they have some subscription fee per month. So if you pay that data, or if you pay that money, then you will be able to get the real-time data. So let's just try one of the stock. I don't think it will work, but we can try it. Let's try Google stock. So what stuff I need to change? Just comment this. I can remove the comments from here instead of option. Okay, I'll just comment this also. We will we will try this example too. So let's make a new contract altogether. So I'll write C is equal to, I'll write stock symbol will be Google, exchange will be NYSE, and currency will be USD. Okay, this should be good enough. So let's see if this works or not. So let's run the code. So you can see it is not working because I don't have any active data subscription right now. So in case if you see the similar type, see you can look at the error to it is saying the requested market data is not subscribed, which means I don't have the data subscription. Now I do have the Indian market data subscription, but the problem is the market is closed right now. Okay, right now it is 6:47 p.m. and right now Indian market is not open. So if I try to fetch any real-time data for Indian stock, that is also not going to work. So let me just show you. So I'll just comment this out. And I'll uncomment this. So on line 9, I'm having an option contract. Okay. So let's see if this works. So I will be able to fetch the historical data. Okay. But I won't be able to fetch the real time data. So let's see if I'm able to get the historical data. So always remember that whenever you're using this real time bar function, the market should be open. If the market is closed, then this function, this WebSocket connection is not going to work because this WebSocket connection only works when the market is open. Okay, see, the reason why it is taking so much time is because I'm fetching 1 minute data for 100 days. This is going to take a lot of time. So instead of 100 day, let me just write 1 day. 1 day, 1 minute data, it should be able to fetch pretty fast. So you can see I've got the data. I've got the latest data 1529, whatever the price of the stock was at that time. So yeah, I guess that's it for the real-time bar function, real-time bar class, and the historical, or you can say the request historical data class. These are the two classes that we have discussed. One request historical data class is used to get historical data, and request real-time bar data is used to get a WebSocket connection and get real-time bar data after every 5 seconds. Now, you have to understand that here we are getting the bar data. That is, we are getting OHLC data after every second. We are not getting tick level data. So this tick level data we will be discussing in our next session. Okay, what is tick level data and how do we get the tick level data?